when loneliness is a wall you can't knock down. Everyone has their own opinion about loneliness. They may even change what they think about loneliness when you ask them. There are some people who raise it to the heavens and admit that it is a reality that we all have to face sooner or later, depending on the circumstances. Other people are afraid of it and do everything they can to avoid it. There are also many people who learn to balance it. They don't feel bad when they are alone, but they also know how to play the loneliness game. This article is for those people who feel incurably alone and suffer because of it. It is about those cases where loneliness has become a real prison, although it is invisible to everyone else. Life has brought these people to a point where they have no friends or family, just functional, temporary ties. But if this is you and you found yourself in this position, you probably don't know what to do to find people you feel close to, people you can trust. Be aware, a lonely heart is not a heart. Antonio Machado. Unfortunately, the scenario we have just described is not unusual. There is actually a real epidemic of loneliness going on all over the world. And it seems to be growing. So many people advocate individualism that we end up creating a reality where personal isolation becomes more and more normal. There are millions of people in the world who feel chronically alone. It is a condition that goes beyond age, nationality or social status. Chronic loneliness, a muted pain. We are not quite sure exactly when this idea that absolute independence was a desirable virtue began to develop. People will tell you over and over again that you shouldn't depend on anyone. It is best if you can overcome all difficulties alone. Ideally, you live alone, grow your own garden, have your own business and don't need anyone. In fact, too much intimacy or closeness starts to seem like a threat because people mistake it for addiction. Why do we run away from this word, from our nature, when deep down we are all addicted in some way? The result of all this is the world we have now, where personal company is sold. There are different places in different countries that offer companionship, not only sexually, but also in person. Today, you can hire someone who will talk to you for a while or go out and watch a movie with you. If there is a supply, it means there is a demand. And if there is a demand, it is because we lack something that we used to get naturally. The effects of loneliness are not always easy to see. It always leaves a mark on your mind and body. It may just be that the mark does not appear immediately. One of these effects is particularly dangerous. We are talking about the changes that begin to happen to our brains. When you spend too much time alone, without realizing it yourself, you begin to see other people's faces as a threat. It's really tragic. This means that the more alone you are, the more alone you will be. And it's not even because you chose to be, but because your anatomy and physiology is changing. This is where the wall closes you in. And then you start to be in danger of becoming physically and / or mentally ill. To topple the wall of loneliness. As we said, it is very serious when someone is alone and stays that way for a long time. Then they will come up against inner resistance to get out of their loneliness. They are not reasons in the strictest sense. They are more like excuses. There is no one worth the effort, they say. Or we all die alone anyway, they will add. What they don't talk about are the moments when they are overtaken by fear or grief. Basically, they settle for something they have accepted but never try to change. Chronic loneliness causes illness. There are many studies that establish this idea. We know that our immune system becomes inflamed and falls apart. There is a clear link between loneliness and premature death. Single people are generally sicker and more fragile. You can't overcome loneliness with more social media. There are also many people who do not live alone, but feel alone. The most important aspect here is not really the amount of people you are in contact with. The important thing is the quality of the ties you create. Learning to be a good friend, and making good friends is an act of survival and self-love. All human relationships must have an element of genuine friendship, although it is greater in some relationships than others. Humans are social creatures. Chronic loneliness goes against our nature, does not come from any need or genuine desire. If you feel alone, if you can't bond with other people, something is not right. The problem may lie in how you were trained or a subjective problem you have not solved. It could even be that you haven't developed your social skills or don't know where to start. Whatever it is, one thing is clear: if your loneliness is chronic, you need help. Go out and look for it. There is no shame in it.